Hey everyone, last week I gave you tips for living a happier life. This week, I'm going to give you something just as useful, the happiness formula. Most of the information I'm giving you today comes from a book titled The Happiness Hypothesis. Now that being said, I'm barely touching the surface of the information in that book, and this is not a book review. But if you find this video helpful, you might want to go check out the book. I'll leave a link in the description for those of you that do. I'd like you to think of what our oldest model for obtaining happiness consists of. More or less, it's that having more things will make you happier. And this is actually a good model as far as survivability and scarcity are concerned. Having as much food as possible will make you happier than having no food at all. And back in the day, if you had excess, that meant you wouldn't have to hunt the next day. So there is some truth to this model, but it'll only get you so far. We explored a bit of this in the last video with money. So far as money, food, and materialistic things are concerned, you will get happier until you get your needs met, but after that, nothing. So then you have this one guy, Buddha, yeah, that one, and then this other guy, Epictetus, a Greek philosopher. Both of them are worlds apart, however both of them came up with very similar ideas. What they came up with was akin to don't get attached to anything, and happiness comes from within. This does seem to be a great leap forward considering where we come from, but a lot of people see it as unrealistic. Epictetus had this line in the Enchiridion that went something like, "This is my vase, it's a beautiful vase, and I love it with all of my heart. But if it breaks, that's okay." And later goes on to say something similar to, "This is my child, it is a beautiful child, and I love it with all of my heart. But if it breaks and dies, that's okay." And people can get it when it comes to the vase, but your child, yeah, that's kind of where he lost people. To his credit, however, he was more meaning that vases do break and children do die, and the fact that never forgetting those will help you suffer less. So what about this new hypothesized happiness formula? Well, it was proposed in the 1990s by several psychologists, including positive psychology's frontman Martin Seligman. This is what it looks like. H equals S plus C plus V. I know it looks a little messy, but I'll clear things up with you shortly. But I want to sidestep with a question. You have this guy named Bob, and there's a specific moment in his life that can go two separate ways. In one future timeline, he loses both of his legs. However, in the opposite, he wins the lottery. Of course, one future is more preferred than the other. However, what do you think Bob's subjective experience a year later would be? Would he feel happier or sadder in each scenario? After about 1 year, Bob's happiness will actually return to the point it was just before each event happened. I know it's kind of hard to imagine. How could one go back to those levels after winning the lottery? How could one become consistently happy again after losing their legs? The best answer I can give you is that humans are really resilient. We're also pretty good at adapting. The lottery winner either loses all their money, or their lifestyle becomes the new normal. After losing one's legs, you feel terrible, yes, but after a while you set more modest goals. You think that today was better than yesterday, and so on and so forth. This process is known as the Adaptation Principle. People make judgments about their present state that are based on whether it's better or worse than the state they've known their whole life. So I may be thinking today was awesome, I won the lottery, but 6 months down the road I may be like, I remember when I won the lottery, that was amazing. People usually go back down to their baseline happiness. Yes, some of our happiness is determined by genetics. This is the S in the happiness formula, which stands for the Biological Setpoint. This means that some of us will actually be naturally happy, while others not so much. Luckily for us, happiness follows a bell curve distribution, which just means that you'll find most people will be in the middle level of happiness. The set point is also the point we will normally revert to over time. The biological set point plays a huge part in determining our happiness, and unfortunately there's not much that can permanently change it. Death of a child and prolonged unemployment can lower our set point, and there's only one way to raise it that we know of, and that's through flow activities. And if you want to learn more about flow, I'll leave a link in the description to one of my earlier videos. The C stands for the conditions that are in your life. Normally we think about the big events, like winning the lottery, affecting our happiness, but it's more the small things of our everyday. They can slowly degrade or uplift our mood. A few of the conditions shown to affect our mood over time include the following. Noise. People who must adapt to chronic sources of noise, such as highways getting built, they never do. This takes a toll on us. Commuting. If you have a long commute with a lot of traffic, it induces stress over time. Shame is another condition. It turns out that people who go through plastic surgery tend to report higher quality of life and even decreases in psychiatric symptoms, like depression and anxiety. The thinking is that people who undergo these procedures tend to feel a lot of shame about their bodies that causes a constant detriment to their happiness. So when they fix what creates that shame, they get happier. Number 4 is lack of control, and this is a big one. There have been several studies that show that a lack of control affects performance. However, in a case of a nursing home study, having more control can actually lead to more happiness, better health, and possibly a longer life. Relationships are a very powerful condition. Imagine having a bad fight with someone, and the days following, you ruminate about everything they said and what you could have said. Having a negative relationship for an extended period of time will adversely affect you, but having a truly flourishing relationship will affect you positively. I'm adding an additional condition to the list: work. It's something that we take part of in a majority of our lives. You can bet the condition of your work affects your well-being. Now, there are definitely other conditions that contribute to your overall happiness, but say for the last one, all the ones here are based on research. The last part of the formula is voluntary activity. It's exactly what it sounds like, things you choose to do. So what activities should you choose? Well, first there are the activities that you can probably guess: eating and sex, which people do find thoroughly enjoyable. At mealtimes, people report the highest levels of happiness of their day. But unfortunately, these states die off, and if we continue to do them past a certain level of satisfaction, we become disgusted. Therefore, it's highly recommended that you space out indulgent activity. Flow is a state people rate higher than quote-unquote chocolate after sex. Basically, it's a state you enter when an activity matches your skill level and takes all of your attention. Another key component to picking the right voluntary activities is knowing your strengths. Maybe you love learning. Check out curiosity.com. Well, maybe you value aesthetics. Paint or go to an art museum. Whatever it is, use it. Alright, so let's put it all together. Happiness equals biological set point plus life conditions plus voluntary activities. You may not be able to control the biological set point, but you can control the other 2/3 of the formula. So how about using that to your advantage? Maybe you can spend more time with your friends, or possibly find a way to make your commute more enjoyable. Furthermore, armed with the information I've given you, you can pick the right kind of voluntary activities. The happiness formula is a pretty interesting topic, I think. I'm not sure if it covers everything, but it does cover a lot and has pretty good research backing it. This is the last video on positive psychology and happiness for the time being. I hope you've all enjoyed going over it. In the comments, I want you to use the happiness formula to pick out something you will do in the coming weeks to improve your life. Next time, I'm going to introduce our next topic: anxiety. I appreciate you all for watching, and as always, thanks for being here.